longtime members are furious at KEA right now. They feel like that in this fight that they dropped the ball. We should have had walkouts weeks ago. I got into a cussing match with our KEA president last Thursday at the Capitol, and it was bad. And I think people are looking for a new direction.
They're looking for new leadership, and you
Yes.
are the leadership. That's what I'm saying to you. You are the leadership.
Listen, I'm willing to burn this down. Like, I'll burn it down to the ground if I have to.
This is the thing.
We're reforming the Linnaean Society. The committee will comprise of myself, Niall, Hooker, yourself, of course, if you're game for it. Now that Hooker and I finally have a bit of clout, we can start to reclaim science as a profession, wrested away from the country parsons and beetle collectors.
Some of whom are dear friends of mine.
The union is not, okay, in most NEA locals, in most state affiliates, and this is actually true of the national NEA as well, the local is staff run. You elect the president,
Yes.
but the president only serves for a couple of years, and it's really the staff who make the big decisions, right? It's the staff who handle grievances. It's the staff who come in with strategies. A union, that's not the way it should be. It should be that the members elect people, elect officers who are representing what they want, and then the staff do the work of the elected officers. So that's the model, that the staff should be doing what you want. You don't do what the staff want. The staff do what you want. You're paying their salaries and your dues. So I'm going to type up a chat thing. So you're saying some teachers want to ditch KEA.
Yes.
Okay, so this is what I think. That's a strategic question about, to me, I have no loyalty to the KEA. I don't have any. You know what? They had their chance and they missed it. To me, you had a job to do and you didn't do it. Now you move over right now and you let us do it and let us take over, or we're starting our own organization. I'm absolutely willing to do that. It's a strategic question, right? They have, and that's what I want us to do. I want us to put them to the test. The way to put them to the test is get as many teachers as you can to join KEA and go to this conference. I understand that everybody can go. Isn't that right? They have a right to attend, KEA members. I want to see you get as many people as you can to go to the conference. And you know what? That itself is an example of how KEA is not doing its job, because every teacher should have known about that election. And they should have been urged to join KEA and run for delegate. So it shows that this is a sclerotic, this union is on life support. That's all I want to say, right? So the thing is that people think they're not visible. They're not defending teachers' professional interests. Let me answer the other thing you said about KEA and being shut down. I think that, and this is the reason that I say we're in a historic moment right now. See, you were raising demands in the union. You were raising demands as an individual or as a small group of people in a union that was a shell, right? And when a union or an organization is a shell, the only way you can win is by persuading the people who control it to have your ideas. You following me? Right? That's, but see, you're at a point now, you're at a very different point historically, because if you bring dozens and dozens of new KEA members into KEA on the basis of your ideas, not their ideas of what a union looks like, on the basis of your ideas. They're not loyal to the KEA leadership, they're loyal to these ideas. Now, the word that I use in my book is caucus, because that's the book that's the word that's used in other kinds of unions, and in the AFT. But the NEA uses the word caucus to mean an official standing committee, and that's why you can't use the word caucus. You can say organizing committee, right? Because if NEA were good, KEA would be better, frankly. I think it's best if the group is really just Kentucky. Really just Kentucky and you all, right? So there's not this issue of outsiders coming in and, there's a lot of suspicion, and rightly so, about people using a movement. So my suggestion is that you go into the convention, you have you yourself together, you have 3 motions or 4 motions that you want to fight on, that you have a goal of taking out of the convention. Maybe one is the charter school thing. Maybe you want to say KEA has to stand firm on the issue of the charter schools and say not a single for-profit charter school in the state of Kentucky. We're not permitting that. I think that's a very important demand. Okay. So you have to decide what you have your fingers on the pulse of the movement, and you know better than I do what those demands should be. But I think the strategy is to form a group, go into this conference, and take people out of the conference to the Capitol. You see what I'm saying? Use the conference as an organizing opportunity, take them out of the Capitol so that they are loyal, they're members of KEA, but they view you as the leadership. Get as many people as you can to go to the KEA convention and go in there with a few demands, right? A few demands that you have the RA delegate, who are your friends or you, make. Okay, so what should those demands be? What do you want KEA to do when the legislature meets? What do you want them to do? And I think that in addition to the issue of progressive tax reform, KEA has to come in there saying something about progressive tax reform. None of this sales tax garbage. I have to tell you, you may lose on it, but it's better to have come out for progressive taxation and lose on it than it is for the Republicans to be able to say, you wanted your salary to be taken out of working people's pockets, because that's what they're saying, right? We know it already. So let's avoid it. They're going to say it anyhow, no matter what we do, but at least we have evidence to say to teachers and to the public, and we say, no, we didn't want that. Okay? So one is you have to say something about where the money is going to come from, and it has to be progressive, completely progressive. Don't be afraid of losing. If Louisville is your base, you have to say something to communities of color. There has to be something explicit in the program about communities of color, because if Kentucky is like North Carolina and Oklahoma, parents of color have some reservations, and you have to win their trust. And that means to win their trust, you have to show up for them and their struggles.
Yep.
Right? You can't just say to them, trust, support us. You have to show up for them where they are. And I don't know what the struggles are in Kentucky right now over race and racism and immigration, but I do know that if teachers at the KEA want support from the people who should be your natural allies. It's parents who are seduced by the idea of charter schools, right? We want to win them over. But I think that to the extent that KEA, you are proactive about being there for communities of color, right? You inoculate them to the propaganda about charter schools and the propaganda about your greedy white teachers. See, now to the whole public, they just say you're greedy teachers. But to communities of color, they say you're greedy white. Historically, teachers' unions were built by high school teachers, and they were white male high school teachers, often social studies teachers who were already political. You know what? I think that, first of all, there is a resonance for labor stuff in the state of Kentucky because you have minors. The miners' battles in the state of Kentucky. And that was a resonance. That was a resonance that was very, very strong in West Virginia. And the other thing that you have gone here that is not Republican is you have immigrants. Mm-hmm. And the other thing that you have gone here that they didn't have in West Virginia is cities with people of color, right? Mm-hmm. So you're actually closer to Oklahoma politically, and you're actually closer to North Carolina than you are to West Virginia because West Virginia is all white, 96.4% white. So I want to be respectful to people who are conservative and are Republicans because teachers who are conservative and Republicans have a place in the union as well, right? Mm-hmm. Absolutely. And that's one of the things that makes unions strong. These three demands that I'm saying that you bring to the KEA convention, the conference, should be things, they will be persuasive to teachers who are Republicans, right? And just because you're a Republican doesn't mean that you can't have a position like on testing or standardized testing. That is different from that of the Republican Party. The Democratic Party hasn't been good on testing either, frankly. So, you know what I mean? Because, I mean, there's no separating the fact that the testing has destroyed space in schools for teachers to really have human relationships with kids and really attend to their psychosocial needs. So, you know, you can't separate any of these issues. All these issues are related. I think that a group that you have needs to come up with, first of all, you all have to be in touch with one another, and you need somebody who's going to be, you all have to be in touch with one another. And I'm just going to tell you right now that West Virginia was organized by a group of 10 people sending emails to one another. The whole thing, and the Facebook page, and they had some support from county leaders. That was the West Virginia stuff. That was it. I know because they told me, one of them, I had phone calls with one of them, and he told me what it was. I said, well, how many are you, and what are you doing? So it may seem to you like an overwhelming task to take over the KEA, but it's not at all. This organization is very brittle. They are weak. They know that they are weak. It doesn't take much. And you are robust. You have hundreds and hundreds of teachers who want to change and want a different leadership. And the state may have an anti-union character, but that's not stopping teachers from taking to the streets on what our union demands, right? So they're ripe. They're ripe. They're ripe, and it's your job to educate. You call a big meeting. You say, we're an organizing committee here, organizing for a new KEA. I don't know. I'm terrible at names, you know. I don't know what you want to call it, but we're organizing here for something different, right? You have that meeting there, And then you decide you came ready with the issues that you want to have come out of the conference. What, and you see, you know, the amendment you made about teaching, you know, the thing you wanted KEA to act on, this is the thing about the NEA. They're great about passing motions. They're great about, they'll pass motions. You can get motions through. The problem is they don't act on them. So that's why I think coming out of the conference, you want things that the KEA is going to act on in the legislative session. That's the first demand. You can't organize, when you show your hand, you have to be ready to do it. And unfortunately, the Lord gave us this gift, or somebody gave us this gift, okay? I myself am not religious, but somebody gave us, history gave us this gift. I totally understand your feeling about this, because the hardest political work, and I have done a lot of political work in my life, the hardest political work I ever did was reforming my union, my higher ed union. It was hand-to-hand combat. It was bloody. It was really bloody. And that was because there wasn't a movement. There just wasn't a movement. And the people who were supporting union reform were the people who were most politically advanced, who really understood what was happening to the university and to our mission, our urban mission, and all that. So what I'm going to say is that you are ahead of your time in terms of the movement being ready, right? But you learned a lot of very important things from that experience that you can now share with people. And the lessons you learned were what not to do. Those were very important lessons that you learned. And I think that it's okay for you to, it's okay for somebody to say, I am really not up to this. I am like so fed up with the KEA that what I'm going to do is write the testing platform, right? Of your group. You can do that. You don't have to go to the conference. You can be the person who's handling communications. There are different roles for different people. Not everybody has to be an activist on the floor. Not everybody has to do that. But I have to tell you, I don't have any doubt that this is the moment to take over KEA. And you're not going to win everything in this convention. But what you're going to be doing is you're going to be setting the stage. You got 1 year to organize your group, run for office, have your platform. And so what this conference should be, it should be the beginning of your campaign to become the leadership of KEA. And when you are the leadership of the KEA, then you establish a respectful alliance with Save Our Schools Kentucky. Think about how you want it to play out. To me, there are a few essentials. One is that you have a meeting there to develop a program, and you get the addresses, the names and addresses of everybody in that room, right? And you go in there with an agenda for that meeting. And the other thing is that meeting comes up with the 3 or 4 things that you want KEA to stand firm on in the legislative session, right? So maybe this is something that people have to talk about, what you want to come out of the KEA convention, right, the conference. Maybe you want to see a commitment from KEA. You want to have a legislative, you have the legislators' agenda, the governor's agenda, and then you have the KEA agenda, right? And so the KEA agenda, maybe it's opposing carry, opposing testing. You know, you can't have a laundry list, but you can identify 4 or 5 things that you think when you put them together are going to really show people what you want the union to show that it stands for. right? In terms of protecting teachers. So those are your demands. We're not, and I think one of them has to be about taxation. I think one of them has to be a curricular issue. One of them has to be pension or pay or whatever, and you decide the fourth. You can't have too many. I don't know if you want to charter schools. I don't know. That division is going to be exploited. That's what the charter school bill is about. That's what that Indiana preacher was about. They are moving to divide on this racial line. You know the issues that are most important in the schools to teachers. A lot of the times it's standardized testing, right? The testing mania, this data-driven garbage. You know, they produce data that's useless, and you're overworked and overburdened and blah, blah, blah. So I don't know. You have to get together. You have to frame that yourself and make those demands on KEA, that when the legislature meets, you are not leaving until they hear what is best for kids in the state of Kentucky. And this is what the kids need. It should be your program for public education in the state of Kentucky, you know? And you announce it. And even if you only have 20 people who join you in this group, I think you're going to have more than that. You're going to leave there and you're going to take this group and you're going to sign up in the state capitol when hundreds of people come. Because hundreds of people are going to come because of your rotten, stinking legislature. They are the best organizers for you. And then you talk to them, you sign them up, you have a closed Facebook page, and you start organizing in KEA. You use Jefferson County as a base, understanding what teachers of color can offer us as knowledge about what needs to occur, right? They are very, very important cultural informants because they're going to keep they're going to make sure that the group has legitimacy among the people who should be your staunchest allies. Immigrant parents, especially Central American parents, are very, very frightened about deportations. There has to be organizing going on by community group of these parents, right? So they are your natural ally. There must be some teachers who are involved with them. There have to be a few teachers who were involved with them. So I think it's important to reach out and find those teachers. I think you're great. And you're just great. Fabulous.